Voters will head to the polls in 3 weeks for the local elections in England, and the Conservative Party hopes to defend 19 of the 23 councils which are up for re-election.
And the leader of the Conservative Party, Kemi Badenoch, is with us here on the sofa.
Morning.
Good morning.
Morning.
This is your first time here, I think, on the BBC Breakfast sofa.
Yes, on this sofa, certainly.
Yeah. Have you been avoiding us? Has it just been happenstance that's been going on?
No, it's just not as close to Essex as I would like, and I have been beaming into your show from Millbank quite often when I'm in Parliament.
Tell me, it's an important time for the Conservative Party right now, with these local elections just round the corner. I think it'd be fair to say you're up against it.
Yes.
Do you feel like you're making progress?
Yes, I do. These elections are going to be very challenging for Conservatives. You all know that we were removed from government last July. And 4 years ago, when we last fought them, we won 2/3 of the seats that were up. But that was during the vaccine poll bounce. Boris Johnson was Prime Minister. We were winning seats like Hartlepool, which have only ever been Labour. So it's going to be different this time. But what I am telling people is that the Conservative Party is under new leadership. We are working hard to rebuild trust with the public, and we're fighting for every vote. And we have so many amazing councillors out there who work so hard for their local communities, and I'm speaking for them and making sure that people hear their message.
OK, one translation of what you just said could be that back then the Conservative Party had a popular leader, and it doesn't now. And the other one could be that you're preparing everyone for a fall. You're preparing everyone by using the words challenging, and that's the kind of language people use when they're saying brace, because this could be ugly.
What I'm doing is telling the truth. Everyone knows that we had a historic defeat last year. We've never had so few MPs. I thought 1997 would be rock bottom. But at the end of the day, these elections are not an opinion poll. It's about who's going to run local services, who's going to pick up your bins. Look at what's happening in Birmingham. That's what you get with the Labour Council. I'm telling people, vote Conservative because you get better services for lower taxes. But of course, it will be challenging. We can't win all the time, everything all the time. But I want people to know that those local Conservatives are working hard for every vote. And just because it's challenging one time doesn't mean it's always going to be challenging. But we have to show that we're doing this for the people out there, not just to win elections.
It's interesting you spoke about Boris Johnson and the vaccine bounce, and he was obviously a big personality and very popular leader for the Conservative Party. Do you feel you would ever be as popular as he was as leader of the Conservative Party?
I never like to speculate about those sorts of things.
Is it an ambition then?
Because I think when we talk like that, it sounds like we're treating politics as if it's a reality TV show. Who's going to win? It's not Strictly Come Dancing. It's not I'm a Celebrity.
Oh, no.
But,
maybe you've misunderstood me. I'm talking about the Conservative Party loving Boris Johnson when he was leader and being very enthusiastic about Boris Johnson. Do you think you will ever have that same level of popularity in the party? Forget the electorate for the moment, but in your party?
Well, let's look at last year. Lots of people thought I would not win the leadership contest. I did. And that's evidence that the party put its faith in me. But as we can see, things go up and down. You look at Labour. 4 years ago, people were asking Keir Starmer to resign because he didn't do well at the local elections. He's the Prime Minister now. My job right now is not about my personal popularity, but being a leader of the opposition.
But it's about encouraging faith within your party,
That's what the job the public have given me, is to be leader of the opposition. And what I'm showing people is that
the public didn't give you that job.
They gave the Conservative Party that job.
The Conservative Party membership gave you that job, and that's what I'm asking about.
The public gave the Conservative Party the job of opposition, and my job now is to hold the government to account. And if we look at what is happening, I've been going around the country visiting lots of counties, not just talking about local elections, but visiting businesses, and they're all screaming about the choices that Labour has made about the economy. So it's my job to highlight that and let people know that we're speaking for them.
But you are a politician and you are in the world of politics. So the reason I ask you about your popularity and your ambitions for being popular and well-liked in your party is because this is a Conservative Party that has had many leaders over the past few years. And there are conversations about whether or not you should be aligning with Reform more, whether or not there should be a merger or a coalition, especially during the local elections, and whether or not you are enough to lead the Conservative membership, the Conservative Party, with the values they have at the moment?
Well, the fact that I am sitting here as the leader of the Conservative Party is evidence of that. And what I'm trying to tell the public is the party is under new leadership. We acknowledge that we made mistakes, which is why we're not in government. We won elections 2010, 2015, 2017, 2019. But after that, it was quite clear things were going wrong. I am setting that straight. But what I'm also telling people is that it is not about us personally. It's not about us being popular. It is about us telling the truth and doing the right thing. And that actually sometimes means doing difficult things. What we've been seeing is politicians making announcements and not delivering. The public don't like that. Labour made lots of promises before the election. They've broken them. They promised to freeze council tax. They're not doing it. They promised not to put taxes on working people. They raised NI. Look at what they did with winter fuel. I am telling people that I'm not just going to be saying things without having a plan to follow through. And that's what we're also doing at local government level.
Can I ask you, in relation to reform specifically, can you categorically rule out any deal, local or national, between the Conservative Party and reform?
So I have said categorically that I'm not doing deals with reform. Nigel Farage has said that he wants to destroy the Conservative Party. When someone says they want to destroy you, you don't invite them into your house and ask to do a deal.
Okay,
but at local level,
that's the big.
Can I finish the first question?
Well, in a way,
so you asked me national or local.
Yes.
So I'm going on to the second. Going on to the second bit. At local level, we end up with various coalitions. I've seen Conservatives go into coalition with Labour, with Liberal Democrats, with Independents. You don't get to have a rerun of an election at local level. So what I'm telling local leaders across the country is that they have to do what is right for the people in their area, and they must stick to Conservative principles. Make sure that they're not compromising on our values and on the things that we believe in. Sound money, for example, not excessive government intervention. So local leaders are voted by the people in a particular community. They will have to make the choice about what is right for their councils. But at national level, no, I was not made leader of the Conservative Party to give it away to reform.
I'm a little bit confused because you're saying they've got to stick to Conservative principles. You're the leader of the Conservative Party, and you just said that the principle is that you can't do deals with reform. But you're saying further down the pecking order, Conservatives can do deals with reform. So those principles you're talking about are flexible.
No. I have said that I'm not doing a deal with Nigel Farage at national level. At local level, people need to run their councils, and local leaders need to decide what to do to run their councils. At national level, if we can't form a government, we get to rerun an election. We can't keep doing that for every single council. People expect their local leaders to deliver. And what I've been saying is that at local government level, Conservative councils deliver better services for lower taxes. And you just need to look at Birmingham, where there's rubbish piled up in the streets. That's what happens if you vote Labour. But if you vote for other parties, you could still get that. It's a Conservative council, Lichfield, that's helping them clear their rubbish. And that is what local councils are all about. Local government is about who's going to deliver those services. Adult social care, special educational needs, fixing the roads. We fix more roads than any other party. That is what I'm talking about, and that's what the 1st of May is all about.
Can we talk about tariffs? Obviously, it is something that we've spoken about in the news a lot, and lots of people are concerned about the impact of this tariff war that seems to have paused for 90 days on the part of Donald Trump. You were obviously in the Office of Trade before. How would you be dealing with, say you were in government, I know it's hypothetical in that sense, but you have your head, you have skin in the game, so to speak. How would you be dealing with this at this moment in time to ensure that the UK gets the best deal? Because at the moment it's 10% tariffs.
So everything we do has to be in the national interest. Trade is not just about paperwork and filling out forms. It is really about power. It's about strategy shaping the world. When I was Trade Secretary, we signed the biggest post-Brexit deal, CPTPP, with countries like Mexico, Canada, Australia, Japan. All those countries are feeling the brunt of US tariffs. What I would be doing if I was Prime Minister is convening those countries to see what we can do to make life easier for the citizens of our various countries. It's always about making life better for people, reducing the cost of living. That can happen. But something else we can do is use the independent trade policy we have now from leaving the European Union to strike a UK-US trade deal. That was something that we were doing with President Trump last time he was in power in 2020. President Biden scrapped the negotiations. We'd gone quite a long way. And I think Keir Starmer needs to pick up where we left off and get a UK-US trade deal that will help lower tariffs even further. But what he mustn't do is just make concessions to get us to where we were last week. A trade deal must be one that creates mutual benefit for both countries.
By having a separate trade deal and looking at what the EU is doing at this moment in time, is there a decision to be made to either align yourself to the US or the EU for the UK at this moment?
No, not at all. It's not a binary choice. We have a comprehensive free trade agreement with the EU as well. It's coming up for review. We should be looking at how we can reduce trade barriers. Britain is a trading nation. We became prosperous from selling all around the world, and those rules help us. The trade rules that the world follows. The real problem right now is that China doesn't follow those rules. I saw this as Trade Secretary. They were dumping steel, put our steel industry in crisis, as you well know. And many of the countries that I've spoken about are also concerned about the way China operates. The US has now taken extreme measures, which will create problems for everybody. But if you listen to what Donald Trump has been saying, he's talking about China a lot. Everyone in the world is worried about China. Japan has trade issues with them around fishing.
Everyone's also worried about the United States as well.
They're a lot less worried about the United States. It's not dumping.
Can I pick up on steel, actually? Because obviously there's British Steel, the issue now, and concerns that the blast furnaces will have to be closed. There are proposals that maybe the government could help with coking fuel to help encourage to keep those furnaces open, but the Chinese company which owns it wants out. Do you think nationalisation would be a good step forward for British Steel?
It has to be a last resort.
But a good resort, nevertheless?
Well, let's look at what I did when I was Business and Trade Secretary. We had a steel plant in South Wales which had similar problems, and we helped them structure a commercial deal that saved 5,000 jobs. Yes, some jobs were lost, but they're going to regenerate that part of South Wales. You look at what's happening in Scunthorpe. I don't understand how Labour, after just 9 months, have already lost what's going on there. You can nationalise, but it has to be a last resort.
What do you mean it's lost what's going on there? It's been a company that's lost money for 3 years, hasn't made profit.
Remember what I said about China and steel? Steel is a very, very difficult industry to be in right now. But one of the things...
It has been longer than 9 months to be a difficult industry.
But this didn't happen on our watch. And if you look at British Steel, it loses about £1 million a day. That's about a quarter of what you would spend on the winter fuel payment that's just been taken away. That's a lot of money. So nationalisation has to be a last resort. We should be looking at commercial deals, options. It's interesting what they're saying about getting some of those raw materials, but they shouldn't just assume that nationalisation fixes the problem.
But there are no offers on the table for British Steel at this moment in time.
Well, there were when I was looking at it, and I think we should be asking what's gone wrong over the last 9 months.
Do you think people should be buying British?
Yes, of course. I encourage people to buy local. But you can't buy British if British businesses are closing and British jobs are disappearing. And that's happening because of very high energy costs. We've got to bring the costs of energy down. But it's also looking at the budget. All of those businesses I've been visiting across the country are complaining about the NI rise, that they can't give pay rises. Some are letting go of staff. Others are closing because it's just too difficult doing business here.
Could you give us an example of something where that's applied to something you've done? Well, you said you think people should be buying British. Something you've bought when you've kind of looked at it and gone, well, I'll buy the British one. Have you got anything you've
all
done?
The time. Clothes, food.
British clothes?
Yes, clothes made by British manufacturers, for example. But what I'm talking about now is not us just buying British. As I said, you can't buy British if British companies are closing, if British jobs are at risk. I speak to farmers all the time. I have a rural constituency. Farmers are really suffering. That family farms tax that Labour's brought in is yet another bad decision. Farmers are saying that they can't invest. How are we going to buy their food if they're deciding to close up shop and we have to import from elsewhere, especially at a time where there are trade wars? And this is one of the things that really worries me, that we are in a worse position because of the wrong choices that the Labour government has made, and I need to help them course correct, give them better ideas. They should not have been taxing farmers the way that they have. Those are people who produce British produce, which we all want to eat, and they help keep costs down.
One or two things with you, and some of these are sort of zeitgeist issues. The toxic masculinity issue that's been much talked about now, young people's access to smartphones. Have you watched Adolescence yet?
No, I haven't. I probably won't. It's a film on Netflix, and most of my time right now is spent visiting the country.
It's a four-part series on Netflix, and everyone is talking about it. It is prompting conversations about toxic masculinity, smartphone use, young men feeling that they're being ignored, the idea of misogyny being increased in school. Why would you not want to know what people are talking about?
Well, I think that those are all important issues, and those were issues that I've been talking about for a long time. But in the same way that I don't need to watch Casualty to know what's going on in the NHS, I don't need to watch a specific Netflix drama to understand what's going on. It's a fictional series. It is not a documentary. What I've been talking about recently, for instance, is banning smartphones in schools. I've been going to schools all around the country. I was in Evesham just yesterday, talking to head teachers, talking to the students, and they talk about the problems that phones are causing.
The difference this documentary has made compared to, say, a politician, any politician, leader of a party, the Prime Minister, going around talking in schools, is this has made much more of an impact than any politician has in terms of what people are talking about right now. So it's really confusing that you don't want to know why, how this has made an impact, how parents are now saying we need to know more about smartphone use.
I can read what people are saying about it. I look at research. This is something that I've been looking at for a long time.
You wouldn't want to know straight from the horse's mouth.
One of the things that I'm more bothered by is the fact that just yesterday we had Labour telling us that they're not going to be investigating the rape gang scandal, something which had happened all across the country. That's real. That's happening right now. We're not talking about that. We're talking about a fictional documentary.
Do you think you're...
We had thousands of... If I may just finish. We had thousands of victims. Female victims, those are girls, young women, and some boys too. I met the mother of a boy who killed himself after being a victim. I want to talk about that because that is real. And yes, I'm glad that the Netflix drama is something that people are talking about, but it is not the only thing. There are many other things that are going on. And my job as opposition leader is to hold the government to account, get them to hold a full national inquiry on what is one of the biggest scandals in our country.
And do you stand by the thing you just said a moment ago, that you're comparing Adolescence with Casualty? These TV programmes. Did you really mean to say that?
I'm saying very clearly that my job is not to watch lots of TV. My job is to get out there and make sure that I'm talking about the issues that are happening in the country right now. And yes, of course, we should be talking about misogyny. The rape gang scandal is one of the most misogynistic incidents that has happened in our country. So me talking about that, me asking for a national inquiry is doing my job. But telling me that I should go home and watch Netflix is you trying to tell me how to do my job. But I don't think that's how to do my job. I can read about...
At what point did I tell you...
Well, you've just said that you were surprised that I haven't watched it. We don't have to watch a particular show to know what is going on in the country. I have met parents of children who've had those experiences. I have met children who've been victims. I think that that is enough for me to go out there, make policy, look at the research.
Yeah, Adolescence
but I don't think the right thing is to be deciding who has watched which show and working out whether that means that you are informed. There are many ways for us to be informed.
Adolescence has made more of an impact than any politician has on parents and when it comes to the issue of smartphones and misogyny, and yet you are saying... Despite that, you don't need to know about it.
Well, no, I haven't said that I don't need to know about the issue.
You don't need to watch it.
I don't need to watch a specific show to know what is going on in this country. It's a fictional show. Let's talk about what's real. I'm going out there every day. I have constituents coming to me, telling me what they're worried about. I had a colleague, an MP, who was murdered due to Islamic terrorism. You look at what's happened in Southport, you look at what's happening in Rotherham, in Oldham, there are real issues. I'm getting out there talking about it. Asking me to sit down and watch a television drama that lots of other people have seen, have written about, have told me about. I know what it's about. I think it is important, but it was also, it's also fiction. Let's talk about what's happening to real people. You had a mother of a woman who was killed. Let's talk about her. That's real life. That's real life.
We're very pleased that you came to join us on the sofa this morning. Thank you. Come back again at some point.
Thank you both.
Kemi Badenoch, the leader of the Conservative Party, thank you very much.
Thank you.